In the 6th century, Byzantine Emperor Justinian I realized vast quantities of gold were being spent on silk. 2 monks were sent to China. They returned with silk cocoons hidden in bamboo canes, bringing sericulture to the west. It then spread to Syria, Greece, the Arabs took it to Sicily and Spain, and the Normans brought it from France to England in the Middle Ages. England, Macclesfield, famous for its silk, where my Silk Road began. 18 years later, in Singapore, on first seeing the wonderful embroidered silks, my future vision was clear.
From the exotic silk gowns of the Far East to industrial Macclesfield. And the link is Jenny Lewis. She may not be a household name, not yet, and even in her birthplace of Macclesfield she merits hardly a glimmer of recognition. But in the fashion centres of the world, Jenny Lewis is a highly respected dress designer and manufacturer. She's a recognised expert in Chinese silks and embroidery, and her handmade, richly beaded and embroidered silk gowns are on sale in such upmarket and world-famous stores as Harrods and Saks of Fifth Avenue. Some of Hollywood's most glamorous stars are her customers. From her base in Hong Kong, Jenny has built, almost single-handed, a hugely successful business, and her plan to expand still further by opening a chain of shops all around the world bearing her name could make her as internationally famous as Mary Quant or Laura Ashley. Still in her early 40s, Jenny is already a millionaire, and she enjoys a way of life that she describes as exciting, frantic and fulfilling. But with the success and fortune has come a deep desire to trace her roots. And Jenny's own silk trail has taken her from Hong Kong, through China, where most of her garments are made, to Macclesfield in Cheshire, the town where she was born, and for 2 centuries, one of the great silk centres of Britain.
This afternoon I went in to see the tourist information to find out where I was born. My mother on the phone told me last night it was Jordan Gate, number 40 Jordan Gate. So I collected lots of maps and things and found that it was in fact just a few steps down the road. She told me that most of the old houses in this road were gone, they'd been demolished, and that Jordan Gate, along with Chester Gate, were the oldest 2 roads in Macclesfield. So I felt a little sad because I felt, well, I'm sure my house will have gone. But nevertheless, I'll come and see if I could find it. So walking along this road, just 10 minutes, I came and found it. Here it is, 40 Jordan Gate. And this is where I was born, in that house, and lived for 4 of the most happiest years of my life. But I feel that this house has a very strong link to China. The windows are the same kind of windows that you see in Suzhou and Chengdu. Suzhou is the home of embroidery and the most beautiful gardens in China. And these windows are stained glass on the top, and square and carved and tiled. And now I found my own roots. I've come back to Macclesfield with the knowledge of Chinese silk, and I would like to produce again in Macclesfield and bring back business to England and live here.
Jenny's return to her birthplace proved to be a much more dramatic and traumatic experience than she ever imagined. It was like the storyline from a best-selling novel. First, she discovered her family home was still standing and actually for sale. Without hesitation, she began negotiations to buy it. Then, the bombshell. She discovered that the man she believed all her life to be her father was in fact not.
You mentioned that you were a war baby. In fact, you made another dramatic discovery, did you not, in your research into your past?
Yes. Rather shattering in some ways, but very pleasurable in some ways too. Because all my life I didn't feel very close to my father. I hardly knew him and hardly saw him. My parents got divorced when I was 8 years old, and I never really felt very strongly towards him. And of course that made me feel rather guilty. We all have these guilt complexes and baggage we carry around. And he died of cancer, and when he died of cancer I nursed him a little bit, but I didn't feel any tremendous grief. And of course I felt very guilty about that too. So yesterday my mother told me the truth for the first time. That in fact, he wasn't my father. That my father was a visiting American doctor with the American Army. And he was here at the end of the war, and they had this mad, passionate love affair which lasted 6 months or something. And I in fact was conceived in that house.
Almost sounds like a clip out of the very successful film Yanks. You will actually go off to America and try and find him, will you?
Of course, yes, yes.
Jenny Lewis's pilgrimage to Macclesfield comes at a time when the town is in the middle of a major scheme to preserve its heritage. Macclesfield was once one of the great silk centres of Britain. For over 200 years, silk was the main industry here. It heavily influenced the shape of the town and the lives of its people. The connection with silk goes back to the 17th century, when the making of thread buttons was an important cottage industry. The manufacture of silk cloth began in the 1750s on hand looms, and into the 19th century, power looms began to take over. But since the Second World War, new industries such as chemicals have taken over silk's leading position in the town, although several firms here are still weaving and printing silk. Modern methods of machinery are now used, but the traditional weaving of silk by hand continued until as late as 1981 on the top floor of Paradise Mill. It's a typical Victorian silk mill, once owned by the family firm of Cartwright and Sheldon. Many of its original jacquard looms have been kept in their original setting and restored to demonstrate what way into the future the skills of a dying craft.
My father, he thought he got me a job. I thought he got me a job in a bank, but he got me a job up here. Worst job he could ever got a bloke. I thought he got me a job in bank.
Why was it the worst job?
It's a bloody job. This wasn't a good job. It wasn't a good job, but well, you had to stick it.
And why wasn't it good? Because it didn't pay well? Or?
Hard work. When you stop here, your wages stop.
And what was it like then? How many people were working
Well,
here?
there was a few working, not a lot, and this is when they went on doing artificial, which they always did silk here, but they went doing artificial for the firms in London. They went mad for them, for the artificial, because you were getting a tie for £3 bob. Well, you didn't buy a tie of these for £3 bob. And as you're saying, when you was working and you spoiled the square, you had to pay, you had to buy it, 2 and 8pence. And it made 4 ties.
Why was it a man's job? Why couldn't women do
It
it?
was heavy. It means anybody rubbed yourself in first day if you didn't watch yourself on this.
So what's heavy?
Shoving that down.
That, what is it, a foot pedal?
Yes, well, see, more holes in there, in that pack of cards, heavy it is. More holes in that pack of cards and heavy, it's more heavy, and you've got to shove that down.
So how, just show us how it works.
Well, yeah, weaving how you go through your shuttles, so you push me traddle down. There's 3 movements in one. As I've thrown that up, it's in. So I've got to throw another one from that side, so that goes in. And then I've got to keep, that's all you do, all go over, keep knocking it back and knocking it back, you know, you get fed up with it.
You take one end from this side, they are on the cross, like they were before, to each side. Take one end from each side, one in there, break them off, and twist them together. And carry on like that.
For what purpose? Why are you doing that?
Piecing it all up, then this is drawn through the harness, through the reed, put your weights on, and you can start weaving again.